Hello again. I've been busy with my stamp organization project. I don't know that I'm ever getting that done. But I took a break to make some magnets for a Christmas present for a coworker as part of a Secret Santa, and I thought I would share a little bit of how I did that. Um, the These are ones that I just finished drilling and filling, so we'll get to those later. But I thought I would share how I'm embedding the magnets into the resin to make them look more professional and finished. So here we go. First, you need magnets, of course, and the smaller, the better, depending on the project. Most of these projects, they're fairly small, so these little small magnets will work well. These magnets are 8 millimeters wide by 1 millimeter thick, and I would recommend the 1 millimeter thickness because that's, as you can tell, not very big. And of course, you want strong magnets that, like, they call them rare earth magnets, I think. I don't know that much about magnets, but you don't want like the cheap ones from like Dollar Tree. Grant you, in a large enough size, they would work, but that's a rather large hole to be drilling into a resin piece. Not to mention, to account that thickness would be kind of difficult. So this piece here, I think I'm going to add another magnet to, because of course, other than sticking on a metal surface and looking pretty, magnets are used to hold things. So I think that this piece is a little large to just have the one magnet, because if you're putting this at the top of a piece of paper, then this is going to obscure most of the paper, depending on the size of the paper. I digress. I went to order some more of these and couldn't find the 8 millimeter by 1 millimeter, so I settled on ordering some 10 millimeter by 1 millimeter, and I've not gotten those yet. But I figured the larger size would work well for pieces like this, and I don't know if I could get away with just one magnet in these, but even if I was putting two in, the larger size and the largeness of this, that's not going to be a problem. Of course, for smaller pieces like this, you need something small. So thankfully, I was able to find more 8 millimeter by 1 millimeter magnets. But anyway, in drilling these, you need to find the right drill bit. For these 8 millimeter ones, I believe the drill bit size I got was 3/8. Yeah, 3/8 was the size that worked for those. For the 10 millimeter magnets that I'm getting, a 1/2 inch bit, I believe, will do the trick. That's what I figured from doing the math and conversions from millimeters to metric to imperial and whatnots. So when drilling this, a few things to keep in mind is, one, the material you're working in is very soft and will expand, for lack of a better term. And you'll see what I mean when I start drilling. So I'm just going to place this in about the center. And you can see what I mean by expand now, I think. It creates all these little ribbons. Now, I would not throw this out. I would keep it and use it when I go to fill molds, especially larger molds, because that will mean less pouring you have to do. And take this and drop it in there and see, does that fit flush? Yeah, it does. So there's drilling the holes. Now to get the magnets into those holes, I use resin, and I had mixed up the Amazing Casting Resin by Illuminite, that Illumilite. Good grief. English can be hard sometimes. Now I've lost my train of thought. That cures in 10 minutes. But when it comes to filling these, I'd mixed up like 5 millimeters of resin. This is in millimeters, right? Yeah, okay. Milliliters, not meters. Good grief. But I was only able to get these 3 filled. So I'm going to I've got some UV resin, and I'm going to use those for these remaining ones here. Just because of it doesn't cure until you put UV light on it, so I've got more control over. I can go through and fill all my holes in, put my magnets in, not be in a hurry, and then put them under the UV light to cure. But once you get your magnets in there, and of course when you put your resin in and fill up the hole, because that's a rather small hole and it's going to be hard to put just enough resin in it, what you'll want to do is sand off the remainder. So since I over poured on these quite a bit, I'm going to start with 80 grit sandpaper and just, now I would recommend if when sanding the back of resin pieces that you've molded, to use a mask, because resin dust is very fine, or can be very fine, and you don't want to breathe it in. Just for this little bit, I'm not too concerned, but just figured I'd give a little word to the wise. This can be a little tricky to hold on to the piece while you sand it, especially when it's kind of delicate. And I'm not too concerned about the magnet showing through the resin. That doesn't concern me so much. If that does, then you would want to make sure that you drill your holes deep enough that the magnet can sit down further. With resin, though, it's kind of hard to keep inclusions down in the resin, because they tend to want to float back up. And I'm looking, I had a little metal plate that the Dollar Tree magnets that I got were on. But I can't seem to find what I did with it. Most inconvenient. Let's see here. I've got a little piece of magnet here that I can maybe use. Okay. But you can see how well. If this was metal, I believe this would hold a little bit better, but that's going to annoy me that I've lost that. Ah, no I didn't. Here it is. I used a glass leveling plate for doing my resining, because nothing's more frustrating than the backs of your projects being kind of lopsided. But so you can see that's got a bit of heft to it. So these magnets are pretty good, but so that's all I do. And then after I sand with the 80 grit or whatever that was, I will switch to like a 220 to refine it. Just so that it's a little smoother and nicer. And then I will go back and I will paint this black, just to make it look a little more professional. And then I will use a sealant over top of it. I used Debbie's DIY Big Top on the last ones that I did, and that seemed to work pretty well. So, but that's what I've been up to, making magnets, just to give an idea of what some of my magnets look like. The drill even works on these pieces that have a thinner center. You just want to be really careful with that. That's one reason I used the wood, because I didn't want to take a chance of drilling through my resin piece and then hitting the glass underneath and breaking it, of course. But the part of the things that I gave to the coworker were bug magnets, and I'll post a picture on my community tab if anyone's interested in seeing what those turned out like. And I did a few frames for her too. And then I bought these tassels. And then some of the larger pieces, I did include that. And this. I'm really pleased with how that turned out. I'm really liking this green and corally peachy color combination with browns. So, hold on a second, I've got a couple others that are just really liked how these turned out. And then here's a rose one. These were all from IOD molds. And I'm just going to use them to decorate my cubicle at work. And these are all ones that I'm going to use the 10mm. I'm going to see if I can get away with just the one magnet on these, because I'm not thinking of using these to actually hold paper up to my cubicle wall. But maybe, I don't know. But we'll see how it goes. But anyway, I just thought I would share how I did that, and a little tip to know how deep you need to go is, hoping you can see, as you start drilling down, as the drill gets deep enough that the edges are actually rubbing against the surface that you're drilling into, you'll see a defined lip created. And before you get to that point, it'll just look like you've got a domed divot in your piece. So you want to drill down further than that until you've got a lip to it that will accommodate your magnet. So, and then when you've got it, this of course wasn't deep enough, and I think this is one of the last getting the 10-minute curing resin into these was a bit of a chore. But if you play around with it enough, I think you could probably get it to the point that the entire magnet is embedded in the resin and you can't see it at all. On a few pieces from my coworker, I was able to do that, and then some pieces I wasn't as successful. But I didn't have a right drill bit for it either, so I had to do a lot of finagling to get it to work. But anyway, there's that. Hope everyone found that helpful, and we'll go forth and conquer. Hope everyone had a happy holiday season and has a happy new year. Bye.